Book of Heaven, Volume 14, February 9th, 1922. The tortured body of Jesus is the true portrait of the man who commits sin. In the scourging, Jesus let his flesh be torn to shreds. He reduced all of himself to a wound in order to give life back to man again. Finding myself in my usual state, I was following the hours of the Passion, and while I was accompanying my sweet Jesus in the mystery of his painful scourging, he made himself seen with his flesh all torn up. His body was stripped, not only of his garments, but also of his flesh. His bones could be counted one by one. His appearance was not only harrowing, but horrible to the sight, such as to strike fear, fright, reverence, and love at the same time. I felt mute before a scene so harrowing. I would have wanted to do, who knows what, to relieve my Jesus, but I could do nothing. The sight of his pains gave me death, and Jesus, all goodness, told me,
"My beloved daughter, look well at me, that you may know my pains in depth. My body is the true portrait of the man who commits sin. Sin strips him of the garments of my grace, and I, in order to give it back again, let myself be stripped of my garments. Sin deforms him, and while he is the most beautiful creature that came out of my hands, he renders himself the ugliest, disgusting and repugnant. I was the most beautiful of men, and in order to give beauty back to man, I can say that my humanity took on the ugliest form. Look at me, how horrid I am. I let my skin be torn off by dint of lashes, to the point that I could no longer recognize myself. Not only does sin take beauty away, but it forms deep wounds, rotten and gangrenous, which corrode the most interior parts. They consume his vital humors, so everything he does are dead works, skeletal. They snatch from him the nobility of his origin, the light of his reason, and he becomes blind. And I, in order to fill the depth of his wounds, let my flesh be torn to shreds. I reduced all of myself to a wound, and by shedding blood in rivers, I made the vital humors flow in his soul, so as to give life back to him again. Ah, had I not had the fount of the life of my divinity within me, which as my humanity died at each pain that they gave me, substituted my life, I would have died from the very beginning of my passion. Now my pains, my blood, my flesh, which fell off in shreds, are always an act of giving life to man. But man rejects my blood so as not to receive life. He tramples my flesh so as to remain wounded. Oh, how I feel the weight of ingratitude."
And throwing himself into my arms, he burst into tears. I clasped him to my heart, but he was crying strongly. What torment to see Jesus crying! I would have wanted to suffer any pain so that he would not cry. So I compassionated him. I kissed his wounds. I dried his tears, and he, as though cheered, added,
"Do you know how I act? Like a father who loves his son very much, and this son is blind, deformed, crippled. And the father who loves him to folly, what does he do? He plucks out his own eyes. He tears off his own legs, tears his own skin off, and he gives them to his son, saying, 'I am happier to remain blind, crippled, deformed myself, as long as I see you, my son, seeing, walking, being beautiful.' Oh, how happy is that father in seeing his son look with his eyes, walk with his legs, and covered with his beauty. But what would the sorrow of the father be if he saw that his son, ungrateful, throws away his eyes, legs, and skin, contenting himself with remaining ugly as he is? So I am. I took care of everything, but men ungrateful form my most bitter sorrow."
Thank you for being a part of our community here at Divine Will app. If you enjoy listening to Jesus' lessons on how to live in the divine will, please give this video a thumbs up. Your likes help us reach more souls yearning to live in the kingdom of the divine will. We'd love to hear your thoughts and reflections, so drop a comment below. Your insights not only enrich our community, but also inspire others on their spiritual journey. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. By joining us, you're helping to spread the news of the kingdom of the divine will, so that together we can bring his kingdom to reign on earth as it is in heaven. In the divine will, always.